Today, we're going to show you how to make DNA libraries for Illumina sequencing using seqWell's plexWell 384 kit. For this demonstration, we will be preparing one 96-well plate of libraries. Before you begin, you will want to make sure you have all the required reagents and equipment not included in the kit. Additionally, check that all reagents are homogeneous and in solution. Pulse fuge all tubes to ensure reagent is at the bottom of the tube. seqWell's plexWell library preparation kits utilize proprietary transposase-based reagents to insert barcoded adapters directly into input DNA in two separate steps. The first step is the sample barcoding step. During the sample barcode reaction, unique I7 indexed adapters are inserted into each of the 96 DNA samples. Following completion of the sample barcoding step, all samples are pooled together. Set up the sample barcode reaction at room temperature. Pulse spin the SBP96 plate, then remove the seal carefully. Transfer 4 microliters of input DNA, approximately 2.5 nanogram per microliter, to each well of the SBP96 plate, mixing after each addition. Make sure to change tips prior to all sample and reagent additions to the SB plate to prevent cross-contamination. Aliquot coating buffer into a strip tube first. Then use a multi-channel pipette to transfer 4 microliters of coating buffer to each well of the SBP96 plate and pipette to mix. Seal the SBP96 plate, pulse fuge and transfer to a thermocycler for the tag incubation. You next perform the SB reaction stop. Pulse spin SBP96 plate and then remove seal. Distribute X solution to a strip tube, then use a multi-channel pipette to add 6 microliters of X solution to each well of the SBP96 plate. Pipette up and down slowly 5 times to mix. Seal SBP96 plate, pulse spin, then transfer to a thermocycler and run the stop program. Next, you perform the sample barcode pooling within plate. Pulse spin SBP96 plate and then remove seal. Transfer 9 microliters of stopped SB reactions from columns 1 through 12 into an 8-well strip tube. Spin down to remove bubbles. Transfer entire contents, 95 through 108 microliters from each well of column 1 or strip tube, to a supplied 2 milliliter tube. Spin down if bubbles are present. Ensure room temperature magwise beads are fully resuspended. Add 850 microliters of magwise to the pooled SB reactions and mix thoroughly by pipetting. Allow DNA to bind to beads. Transfer tube to magnetic stand and let supernatant clear. Remove and discard supernatant with pipette. Cover bead pellet with 80% ethanol. Incubate 30 seconds. Remove and discard supernatant. Repeat previous step for a total of 2 washes with 80% ethanol. Cap tube, pulse spin, return to magnet, and use small pipette tip to remove residual ethanol. Do not air dry beads. Immediately add 40 microliters of 10 millimolar tris and pipette to fully resuspend beads. Incubate the tube on the bench for at least 5 minutes to elute the purified SB reaction pool from the beads. Return tube to magnetic stand and let supernatant clear. Then carefully transfer 39 microliters of DNA eluate to a PCR tube. The transferred eluate contains the purified SB reaction pool. The second barcoding step in the plexWell kit is where a single I5 barcoded adapter is inserted into each pool of the 96 I7 barcoded DNA samples. The pool barcoding begins with the pool barcoding PB reaction setup. Your purified sample barcode pool is already in the 0.2 milliliter PCR tube. Add 5 microliters of pool barcode PB reagent to the sample barcode pool and pipette 5 times. You will use a different PB reagent for each starting sample plate. Add 22 microliters of coating buffer to the PCR tube containing the purified SB pool. Mix thoroughly by pipetting. Cap the PCR tube containing the PB reaction. Pulse fuge, then transfer to a thermocycler and run the tag program. You will next perform the PB reaction stop. Pulse fuge PB reaction, then add 33 microliters of X solution to PB reaction. Mix thoroughly by pipetting slowly 10 times at 50 microliters. Recap, pulse fuge, transfer to a thermocycler, and run the stop program. Then perform the PB reaction purification. Pulse spin stopped PB reaction, then transfer entire contents, approximately 99 microliters of each stopped PB reaction, to its own 1.5 milliliter low bind tube. Briefly vortex or pipette magwise to ensure beads are suspended. Then add 99 milliliters, 1 volume equivalent of magwise to each stopped PB reaction and mix thoroughly by pipetting. The remainder of the pool barcode purification is the same as for the sample barcode pool purification with slightly different volumes. After bead binding, supernatant removal, and ethanol washes, resuspend the bead pellet in 24 microliters of 10 millimolar tris and incubate for 5 minutes. Transfer tube to magnet and let supernatant clear. Then carefully transfer 23 microliters of DNA eluate to a new 0.2 milliliter PCR tube. The transferred supernatant contains the purified PB product. The final step in the plexWell protocol is a fill-in and amplification of each 96 plex library using universal library primers, i.e. P5 and P7 primers, making for a highly efficient multiplexed library prep workflow. Library amplification begins by adding 4 microliters of library primer mix to the purified PB product. Add 27 microliters of Kappa Hi-Fi Hot Start Ready mix and mix well by pipetting. Close the PCR tube and run the FillAmp program. Library purification follows library amplification. This step is necessary to remove residual primers and short library fragments. After PCR, pulse spin and transfer the library amplification reaction to the 1.5 milliliter low bind tube. Measure the total volume. Then dilute the library amplification reaction to a final volume of 205 microliters with 10 millimolars tris hydrochloride. Be sure to mix thoroughly. Transfer 100 microliters of diluted unpurified amplified library to a new 1.5 milliliter low bind tube for purification. Set aside the remaining unpurified material. Add 75 microliters, 0.5 volume equivalent, of resuspended magwise to the 100 microliters unpurified library. Mix thoroughly by pipetting up and down. Follow the binding incubations, supernatant removal, and ethanol wash protocol in the user guide. Following the ethanol removal, remove the tube from the magnetic stand and add 32 microliters of 10 millimolar tris and thoroughly resuspend bead pellet. Incubate 5 minutes on the bench to elute the purified library from the magnetic beads. Return tubes to magnetic stand and allow supernatant to clear. When the supernatant has cleared completely, carefully transfer 28 microliters of DNA eluate to a new 1.5 milliliter low bind tube. The transferred eluate contains the purified multiplexed library. After library quant, you are now ready to load your libraries on any currently supported Illumina sequencer per the manufacturer's recommendations.